City are still alive here. Balotelli, Aguero! Special beyond special.
Best player in the Premier League.
Captain Marvel. Drogba! Rooney! Oh, wonderful! That is one Derby diamond.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's match day.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Clash of Clubs, episode 19. Hopefully a shorter one this time. We're going to talk about the title charge up top with Liverpool and Arsenal dropping points. Then we'll go over to a London derby with Chelsea versus Brentford. And then we will end the episode with the Poochester or Manchester derby. Let's start with the team at the top with Liverpool. Dropping points at home versus Fulham after going down.
Like me and Mila tried to tell you when we were talking about left back. So he's just a little bit past it, unfortunately. I think the red card obviously completely changes the game. Fulham have played really well this year, but we just saw what they did against Arsenal. Kind of get your goal, be resolute defensively, get your points at a tough place to play, move on. Going 1-0 up, red card, that's when I started to think, like, oh, this could be a win for Fulham, right? Slot was honestly really impressed me in that game, kind of the way they went about their subs, especially when a defender gets a red card that early in the game. You would assume you take off an attacker, you bring on a replacement left back and kind of go from there. He was moving stuff around like every 2 minutes almost, it seemed. Like, okay, Gomez, you go in at left back, that's not working, go back over to the right side. Just kind of the way they moved things about and still really did compete. Game was end to end. That was pretty impressive, but yeah, I feel like 2-2 is a fair result, but if anyone was probably going to squeeze it out, honestly kind of felt like Liverpool towards the end. Really felt like they could have got that winner. But yeah, Fulham again kind of doing what they need to do against a bigger team. Just be resolute, get your result, move forward, and obviously a team like that, they really need to do their damage against kind of teams in their area of the table, below, obviously really beat up on them, dominate the ball, but Marco Silva is a good enough coach to know when you're beat, when you're outgunned. Like, hey, let's just not park it up, but park it up and get your point, move on.
Yeah, I mean, for Fulham, it's another great result. Like they're like, I know they're draws, but that's kind of the level that they are. And I mean, now to go against 1 in the table and 3 in the table and pick up 2 points, like most of the other teams in that situation are not picking up a point in general. Especially to do it at Anfield. Obviously, the red card is a massive mistake. But Liverpool, they have something that the team that we're talking about next, Arsenal, don't have, and it's they had the red card, and they were still able to compete in the game. They were still able to salvage points. Now, they weren't in a position to win the match, and they were close to doing it, like you were saying, and they get credit for that as well. Obviously, it's dropped points at the end of the day, and
they won't be happy.
I'm assuming that Mila might bring up. This is not the first time in the last few games where they've dropped points, right?
It was back-to-back, I believe.
Back to back.
Everton game got canceled or postponed, whatever.
Well,
then
Newcastle,
Liverpool, not so much. I guess. I guess so. Yeah.
Back-to-back league games because they beat your one Champions League.
So I mean, maybe this is a starting point where Liverpool are playing a little bit of a tougher stretch of games, and we're going to see maybe some of the wheels not have as much grease to them. I'm not entirely sure, but they still looked really good being a man down.
Yeah,
and that's kind of the sign that I had with like those City teams was the same thing. It was like, even if they went down, I still had a feeling they were going to pick up points or still see out the match and get points. I don't know.
The game wasn't done and dusted like some other teams that get a red card is what you're trying to kind of get at.
Yeah. Mila, do you have any thoughts on Liverpool and them dropping points again?
I just think that they will drop points again. They're going away to Crystal Palace this weekend, so that's a perfect opportunity for them to drop more points.
Palace been better and better, yeah.
They have been looking good.
I'm not going to say for sure that it's going to happen, but these things are usually a slippery slope, and with the new manager, just got to see how he reacts to that.
Yeah, and I'm not expecting them to just kind of fall off a cliff like what they were 11-1-1. And
they don't have to fall off a cliff, but when you go up against teams like Palace and Fulham that are gaining form at this time of the season, that are supposed to be better teams than they are performing throughout the season. They are starting to kind of look like what we thought they were going to look like at the start of the season.
Yeah. Yeah, I
And
mean,
Liverpool are kind of wavering a little bit. They don't have to be terrible
right.
like some of the other teams.
Fine margins.
But exactly.
I don't know. I mean, I think the margins are definitely bigger this year, though, from what we've seen. But yeah, to your point, you don't want, when you're in that position, you don't want to give up anything. But again, they were due for some regression, right? But yeah, it's on the other teams
they had a gap though. They're gonna have to maintain it, and it doesn't look like it's gonna favor them.
Yeah, I think the only thing, I guess we kind of harped on it a little bit, but the stat was a few weeks ago, 21 of 28 goals in the league come from Salah somewhat, or like whether he's assisting, whether he's the one putting it away. You can't rely on that. Obviously, Jota's very clinical, but he also doesn't play every game.
That's another thing. Salah normally drops off in a month or two, right?
Right, yeah, the end of season stretch that he's known for, right? But
we just it's
on them. I think in January, right? They didn't really done much. Normally, they're not really going to do much in January, though, huh? Just
it's not there.
Diaz hasn't scored in a while. He started off the season really well. I think Gakpo started to look good, finally getting time off the left. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, it's definitely not like them running away with the race, kind of like how some people thought it would be. No, yeah, there's going to be teams on them.
Yeah, it's still their table to run, but I still think that there's holes within the armor that they can get. They can be beat by, but they're still a good team.
For sure. You know who's got more holes in their armor, Dylan?
The team that can't score from open play?
I think you're onto something. That is fucking crazy. Like I feel like I've given Arsenal the most grace out of us three, which is kind of crazy too. But seeing Odegaard come back, okay, we'll give them a minute to really get back into form, see what they're doing. Everton at home is kind of, I guess for me, a breaking point in terms of looking at them as, to me, a top 4 rival, right? Those are teams you're competing with to try and get back into these Champions League spots. We're 4 points above them, but I'm just talking more in terms of what I'm watching. There's no threat, man. Like, we don't even need those stats to really look at when's the last time they scored from open, but all that. Like, you just have to watch. Patrice Evra, bro, he dropped a bar. You just have to wait. Next year, Netflix. Like, I think they're done already, which is fucking crazy because this was the year, right? They were, wait till Pep leaves. Wait till City fall off. City fell off? Where you at? You got 2 bald dudes who just walked up into this league and took your chain. That's crazy. I did not see that coming. I think in hindsight, maybe I could have tried to see it coming because, I mean, the transfer window is subpar. But again, I do give Arteta his credit as a manager. I'd like to think, like, this is why he's signing these players. He's got a reason. There's a rhyme behind the reason, right? He knows something about Sterling I don't. Sterling can't get a minute, and Martinelli's never looked worse in an Arsenal shirt. I think Trossard, he's proven that he's not a starter there. So the fact that Sterling's still not getting a sniff just breaks my heart. I'd love to get a fee for him. But it is fucking nuts. I can't believe they really are already out of it like this. It's actually crazy. 65 million down the drain. Do you think they're competing for the title still?
It's close enough to where they can be, yeah.
But do you think they have within their squad?
I don't think they can do it, but it only takes 1 or 2 players for them to turn on, and this is a different story.
I don't know.
I feel like we've been asking that out of them all season.
Yeah.
We've tried not to be super critical, and we've tried to say, okay, Odegaard and
We've
Saka
given
need
it
a
time.
bit of help.
We've given it
exactly.
I've come to my conclusion. I think it's too much time.
They didn't get anyone.
Marino. This was the midfield. But how is this was the midfield I thought would be their best one. Facundo also said this is probably their best, right? Rice at the base, Marino on the left, Odegaard on the right. There was nothing there. So, obviously, that midfield can very easily end up working. Like, that alone, sure. But I just don't see within that squad, like, what's going to change for them to get back to where they were in terms of playing the way they used to play. Free-flowing, creating chances. Like, there's none of that.
It's pragmatic. I mean, we've said all that there needs to be said about them, and it's on the manager to get the best out of the current set of forwards. And if they don't have it, then go fucking buy one.
Well, they can't because Jesus and Havertz are probably on $500K a week between the two of them.
No, they totally can. They just don't. That the club doesn't have that ambition. They just
To
choose not
have
to.
those two as your strikers getting paid that much is just obscene, man. Like a team competing for a title in what we call the toughest league in the world, you need better than that.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. But they chose not to, and I think at this point they're in a position similar to City where you made your bed, now you got to lay in it. And I'm not really sure if there's anything out of it unless you go in January and you just go and spend the money. Which if they choose not to do, we know how their ambitions are as a football club, and it's nothing different than it was with Wenger. That's my personal opinion.
What center back?
Huh?
For January? What center backs are on the market for January?
I don't know, but honestly,
who else are they going to sign? They're going to sign another center back. You know what I mean? Oh, they're
I
finished.
mean, I don't know if they're not. That's the thing is, if they get a striker, in January, I think it can change a lot for them. Even if they bring in a winger, if they bring in a left-sided winger, if they can find a loan, there's got to be something.
If they bring in a dangerous forward, whether it is a winger, whether it is a striker, Isak can do both. That's a perfect fit for them. But
he's not leaving in January.
No. And if he is, you're breaking a record fee to get him. I just don't think they do that, I guess. I don't see them really.
They haven't had the track record of doing it.
Bro, we signed Mudryk just to sign Mudryk. You know what I mean? Like, they don't have it like that.
They choose not to. It's not like they're any different than you guys in terms of like what they can choose to spend. They just choose not to. Yeah, they're a London team. To think that they don't have money is silly. I just think that's just bad at the top end.
So it's up to the team and I guess whoever's making the signings because Edu left, but there's another one who's going to make that signing. So I don't know. I think they're out of the title race for sure. I don't think that group of players is good enough. But that's where I stand.
Mila, you want to talk about them at all? Add anything? I know you talked about them a little bit already, but if not, I think it's only right and it's only fair. And I was saying this last pod, but my personal opinion is we need to throw the team that we're going to talk about next into these title race talks, and I think that it's worth the conversation. But let's go over the derby, the London derby, with Chelsea and Brentford. 2-1 for Chelsea. Do you want to speak on it, Grant?
Yeah, Brentford's been a tough game for us. I think we beat them once out of the 6 times we've played them. The 3 times at the Bridge, they've beat us all 3 times. It's one of our bogey teams. So definitely a little shaky going into it, just based off that. But I think the team was set up well. Another interesting approach from the manager. I know you guys caught enough of the game. Like it was all crosses. That was the plan right away. This team's going to park it low. Obviously, Brentford's super tactically flexible, but they were clearly in a low block for that pretty much the majority of the first half. So the plan was, if you have space, put a cross in. Just don't even let them set up, because we don't have an aerially strong team, I'd say. And towards the end of the first half, it's fucking Cucurella who gets the goal off a Madueke cross. I think we crossed it over 20 times in that first half. But, I mean, everyone knew what their job was. I think Palmer and Sancho, neither of them ended up with any goals or assists, but I thought they were fantastic. Madueke got his assist. Jackson, pretty wasteful again, honestly, but put away the most important chance that he got at the end of the day. So we end up winning by 1. We take what we can get there, just get the points, but would have loved a clean sheet. Sanchez was fantastic. Sanchez was really
That was going to be my first note.
And it wasn't only the saves for me.
No, he was really good.
In terms of when you think of a keeper, you would obviously he made some fantastic saves, but his decision-making is always what I've been very critical of. I thought his decision-making was very good in that game. When the opportunity was there to play it to a midfielder to receive the ball on the turn, played the ball. When there wasn't anything on, fucking got rid of it. And, there's a few, he sliced with his left foot, they go out of play, so be it. I think his claiming of crosses, Brentford obviously really dangerous on set pieces. He was sound. I think he was probably one of our best players in the match, but I think everyone was fantastic in that game. Tosin comes in, does a job. Caicedo is so good. I can't stop talking about how fucking good that guy is.
Played really well.
And he's talking about, I want to be like Conte. We can tell, brother. We can fucking tell. I mean, the tackle he makes for the second goal, like, that is just an obscene tackle. Dishes it off. Enzo plays the ball through, gets himself another assist. Yeah, the team's clicking right now. Everton's another bogey game for us, away at Goodison. But I like what I'm seeing with this team, man. And to your point on the title race thing, all that good stuff. Me and Mila were kind of talking about it right before you got back into the call. But if you look at it objectively, mathematically, absolutely we're involved. Like, there's no really questioning that. I guess the way I kind of see that, are you in the title race? I think of that as, do you think there's a chance that you can win? Like, a real chance, not just obviously anything can happen. You know what I mean? But I don't think this team's there yet just because the goal conceded in the 90th minute. It did not take much. It was a throw-in. Cucurella throws it into Caicedo. There's a few people around him. He loses the ball. 2 passes and Embuemo's through. So I don't think a team that is championship level kind of makes those types of mistakes. Against Tottenham the week before, we concede right at the end of the game. So
Okay,
I think
let's shelve the are they in the title race thing for 1 second while me and Mila talk about the game itself, because I think there were some really good things there. Mila, do you have any notes about the game itself and how you felt about the way it went? I know you watched a little bit of it at least. So
it was, like Grant said, it was a lot of crossing. Kind of that like attacking fluidity that we've seen in recent weeks. It wasn't so much there. It looked like they had a very strict game plan, kind of like what Grant was talking about. But I think the way that they responded to playing that way, they weren't playing that great, but they still managed to get the 2 goals, great goals, and then get the points out of a game that they don't usually, not usually, but like a lot of the time, Brentford get points off of them. So I think they did a good job. I do think that is part of the reason why they are in a title race. You say they might not be ready, but it's things like that.
Not about when you're ready, yeah.
Some of the other teams that we were just talking about are not doing things like that. So yeah, I don't want to talk too much about that title race point, but that's my thoughts towards the game, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, Chelsea dominated for the majority, at least the possession wise. It may not have been like their most out and out best victory that we've seen over the last stretch of games, but look, they controlled it. And Brentford have scored a fuck ton of goals against so many teams. They've scored a boatload of goals, and for the majority of the game, Chelsea looked pretty sound up until like the 70th minute when
Brentford still looked like they were going to get a goal at some point.
They did. No, they only did that once they made some changes, and Maresca didn't make the changes that he probably needed to make until a little bit too late.
We only made the Nkunku sub. That was all we had.
Right, and so like, yes. Oh my god, there was the picture that they showed a video of, just like they panned to the bench and it was just like there was like $400 million worth of players just in street clothes.
Yeah,
just
you know what I mean?
Just craziness.
Yeah, they really didn't have anything for us up until that point.
Up until that point,
80th minute, right before Jackson sealed it with his goal. Fuck me, dude. That Carvalho
that would go towards
the
run of play, but I feel like there was always a little tingle that they were going to get some counter.
Absolutely.
It was just putting it away, but Sanchez had a great game. On another day, like Grant's been complaining about, that game could be like a 3 goals from Brentford.
Chelsea were also wasteful. They were also wasteful. Sancho probably should have scored. Madueke probably should have scored. Palmer should have scored. Jackson missed that fucking. He missed a sitter.
Yeah,
that was we were saying that was the old Jackson.
But then he fucking got.
And then he scores an amazing goal.
Well, they didn't. That's where I'm saying they didn't play great.
No, you're
on another day. If they were going, they would have put 5 past Brentford.
8 of them are on target out of 26 shots, so you can kind of tell they're just ripping fucking shots, low block.
Yeah,
but
you're right.
I thought it was fun. They controlled the game, like you said. But yeah, I guess going back on the kind of are they in the title race? Like objectively, mathematically, absolutely they are. I don't really look at them as a title contender, if that makes sense, because again, I just need to see it more. I think once we get through this run, because to your point, forgot which one of you said it just now, but 2-1 versus Brentford's not a very glamorous win, but you took care of business. That's what serious teams do. So we've got a nice little run of games coming up, like I've been talking about. I think Everton, Ipswich, a few easier games in there on paper. If you go and take care of business, then we'll have the conversation. I still need to see a little more, I guess. But I love what the manager's doing. Get these guys fit again. Because that bench, he had a lot of kids on the bench. Holy shit, this is a brutal bench.
Maresca said all of the right things, and I continue to agree that he's saying all the right things, but I think internally, and he should know this too, that this is the time to take advantage of what's currently in the Premier League and go and win the title. I'm going to continue to say it because if I was a Chelsea fan and this was my club, that's what I would be saying is, why not? Why isn't this the time? You're not playing competitive football midweek, right? You're playing crap teams. You're literally sending B squads out. Who cares about the Conference League? If you win that, it's not like it fucking matters.
Oh, wait a minute. I want all the trophies, Dylan. We'd be the only team to have all the trophies. I need that.
You might want that just for that saying, but
they need a trophy.
Literally in that club, when you've won the Champions League, the Conference League means fucking nothing. And it should mean nothing. But, and that's the way they've treated it all year, so I'm not going to assume that they're treating it anyways.
Yeah, sure.
You're 2 points off Liverpool. I know they have a game in hand, but you win your game against Liverpool, and why isn't this is an expensive squad? You have City who look awful, Arsenal who look toothless. Force isn't in this. Why aren't we talking about Chelsea as being able to do this? I know that they have lapse in judgment, and I know that there's portions of games that don't look great, but Liverpool are doing the same thing. We had a red card in the Liverpool game. They didn't look great. Now they're going to play without
the Kelleher mistake against
Kelleher.
Newcastle.
Yeah, that's why he's not a championship caliber.
They're not flawless.
Goalie.
They're not. I don't think they're leaps and bounds better than Chelsea, and they're also playing in Champions League football midweek.
Yeah,
there's an opportunity to win this year. Nothing is ever guaranteed. Where would City be if they had Rodri this year?
Probably first.
Right, so if they get Rodri back next year, the City are going to fucking blow up the market. We're talking about a whole new City squad with a whole new reason to battle for first place. So there's that coming into next year. Also, health is never guaranteed. You saw that last year. Fuck, you can get demolished with it. I just think that this is the time for Chelsea to go and do it. And I don't know why we're not. I don't know. I get it because it's a young squad, but like, how many more opportunities? Nothing in sports is ever guaranteed. I am totally of the mind of either you win it all or you don't. And there's just no in between, because to use our logic that we used against Arsenal, right? What's your biggest achievement going to be? That we pushed Liverpool to the trophy? No, because that's fucking wank, and it means shit. Because second place, what's Ricky Bobby saying?
You first, you last. Yeah.
And that would be my perspective. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I haven't fucking sniffed anywhere close to that in 10 years. But like, that's where my head would be.
I think that's how they treat it. I mean, very clearly you can tell based off. Just go look at on Thursday the lineup we put out against Shamrock Rovers. That'll just show you how much they're taking the Prem seriously. Obviously, like you said, it's a C-level competition. We sent all the academy kids out to Kazakhstan, right? Shamrock Rovers, like, we clinched the top of the Conference League. Like, it's going to be all the kids playing. Maresca's going to get 5 more kids a debut because he wants everybody fresh for Sunday. Palmer he's not even registered on the Conference League team yet.
And he shouldn't be.
Right, because the Prem is the priority. They got bounced from the Cup because he put Dewsbury Hall at right wing. Like, very clearly, I think he's taking this competition that seriously, like you said, saying everything he needs to say to the media to keep all of it off the players, keep them in the right mindset. But I still think, I think they'll absolutely give it a go. But for as good as Robert Sanchez was on Sunday, I've seen just as heinous performances on the other side of the spectrum. I will never trust Robert Sanchez. You know what I mean? I can't. And you know how much I'd love to? I think he's fucking awesome, bro. Sanchez is hilarious. I think he's got great character. He's been around the block. He's been in this league for a while. I would love for him to be the number one. But it's just not going to be the case. You know what I mean? So things like that, I think our defense, while there's potential in these players, I really rate Colwell, Fofana. We've missed him a bit. That's not a title-winning defense. I think we know that. So that's why I just can't.
You have a title-winning attack.
Who cares?
You have a title-winning attack.
They might do it, but that's why I just don't see us as like, oh yeah, that's in the.
You guys just scored 37 goals through 16 games. You don't have to have a great defense if you're scoring 37 goals.
But we always talk about sustainability. You know what I mean?
I think it's sustainable.
Well, that's the thing.
That's what I'm saying. Is the offense looks sustainable.
And I think the midfield has been brilliant.
No, I'm just agreeing with you.
We just need to can we give Caicedo some more flowers? Like, I just think
No,
I
dude,
respect
he's had enough
that's-
flowers.
people were talking about Endo last year, bro. People were
This-
talking about Endo, saying he was better than Tyson.
the core of that team, like in the midfield, is better than Liverpool's, and I genuinely believe if everything goes towards the projections of things, is that midfield for Liverpool will potentially fall apart or get shaky. One
I don't think
injury, one
hard.
thing, it's not going to go great.
It doesn't. And I do think their midfield balance has been fantastic this year. They do not have output in the midfield, and when you rely so heavily on Salah, I think that's more of an issue. But in terms of just the physicality, the technicality of the players, like, I think it's good. But now thinking about it, I mean, they are in Champions League. Those guys, like, you're gonna have to pick and choose what games you want your best three midfielders. While I think, like, Jones and Salah, like, both of them are on a similar enough level to where you don't see a drop off there. But yeah, it's gonna be a lot tougher for them to balance it than us going to fucking Kazakhstan again. So
This time last year, Liverpool fans were screaming about how they were going to win the quadruple in Klopp's last season. That was the shouts. That's what they were talking about, and they came home with one fucking trophy.
who ended that? Who ended the quadruple hopes?
It was Ahmad.
Oh, right.
But they didn't even come close to the other two.
Well, what you guys know
They
about?
didn't even come close. So, like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I think
Pochettino gave them that trophy, Dylan. Let me remind you who gave them that fucking trophy. Gift wrap. I can't. If you witnessed the atrocities that I had to see that man do, you guys
Doug,
watched-
you're talking to a person that has been stabbed in the heart 50 billion times over the last 10 years. I know what atrocities are.
you had 10 Hag.
I know. I've had a fucking string of managers where it's been worse, man. Actually, Ten Hag did some good things. I'm not.
What about that Lampard stretch when he came in for Potter and just immediately lost?
Oh, what did I just saw a stat on Lampard. Like it was either, I think it was Chelsea. This is their longest stretch of games winning in a row since Lampard. That's fucking crazy.
The one I saw was like they haven't won 6 in a row since Tuchel, and we won 7 now. It was the Brentford game. But the last time we won 6 in a row, the 7th was Brentford. They beat us 4-1 at home. So I was really worried.
It's crazy.
I told Mila, I think I saw it. We haven't scored a NPG, a non-penalty goal at Goodison since before COVID.
You guys are gonna batter them.
I'd like to think we did.
Dog, we put 4 behind them. I know we didn't talk about that at all, and I didn't want to bring it up, but fuck, dude, they couldn't score a goal against Everton.
It's insane. It's not even worth talking about because I didn't watch the game because I forgot what was on at the same time.
I thought they were gonna win by 8.
Well, yeah. Why would I watch Arsenal beat the shit out of Everton? I don't want to see all those assholes score. But then I just kept looking at football. I was like, oh, wait a minute, they haven't scored yet.
I mean, to be fair, when Stoke plays Everton, you know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those games. On a rainy night in Stoke.
Set pieces against Everton.
What do you think you're doing? You know what I mean? That's insane. He thought he could out Deitch.
Okay, I do want to go back to the title race thing.
Yeah.
What game in particular do you have? Like a game, like the next big game you guys play is against City in like mid-January, late January. Is that the game? Like if Chelsea go in there and just control the game, would that be the game?
I wouldn't say it's one
depends how
game in
we're
particular.
playing, I think.
That also huge. I think
if we're shit, then it doesn't mean anything. It's just another shit game for them.
But Chelsea, they've dropped points to United.
They haven't beat any big teams.
I guess if I was me, that would be my kind of threshold.
I'm more worried about the Brentfords of the world, to be honest with you. That game on Sunday showed a lot to me. That is a game I took very seriously, and you know how I felt about Tottenham going into that game. We get 3 points against Tottenham. Like that's just what we do, right? We're not really thinking too much about that. The Brentfords of the world, that was what I was worried about. So for me, it's not one game in particular, but that last game yesterday, if any of them, really gave me a boost in terms of, we approached this with a game plan, executed the game plan, got the result.
I think for me at least, like when it comes to the I guess smaller teams, but the mid-table teams, like it's not as much of a worry because you're not like for a Champions League team, they're not resting guys midweek, and so it's like there's not as much give and take. That's the big game. So I don't have a worry with you guys beating the mid-table teams. I do agree that I'd like to see you guys beat one of the top 6 teams.
Those are the results that win you the league.
Right.
We're going to drop points against more big teams this year. We're going to pick up points off more big teams this year.
I was going to say the difference in the Liverpool thing right now is because you guys lost to Liverpool. Right?
Well,
like that's the difference.
Crystal Palace when they were awful, dropping points against
Liverpool just dropped points to Fulham.
In particular, we should have won the game in terms of how we were playing. I look at those a lot more than the big games because obviously I want to fucking beat the big teams, right? I want to tell Mila we beat you. I want to tell you stink. But we're gonna win. We're gonna lose. You need to take care of business against the smaller teams, if you will. So that's kind of where I am in terms of the seriousness of the team because we're always going to show up or at least attempt to for a big game. But yeah, you got to show up against Brentford. You got to show up against Ipswich. Those are important.
I honestly think those are the games you just got to scrape by and just come out with 3 points. And the one,
Right.
like, that's what made
But
those
prove it to
City
me-
teams
prove it to me you
so
can be
good.
That's what he
They were-
meant.
Prove it to me that you're
Yeah.
a professional.
Okay, well, okay, sorry. I think I'm just at the point where I think every time you guys go into those games, you're gonna win them, and
I'm going to
that's
bring them up.
over
If
the.
you watched every fucking game Hawks coach
I'm
last year...
not worried about those games. The games are the big games for me.
That's. I think I'm with Mila here.
Yeah, they
'cause look,
haven't-
The
they
big
haven't
games,
done it
anything
against them.
anything that would be a little bit more pressure than normal on their shoulders is
Mhm.
where I think you guys are.
You're saying they graduated
vulnerable
from
to
the
drop
phase
points.
of worried about Fulham, go worry about the big boys now.
That's what
That's
title.
Well, not,
that's
not
what.
I'm
yeah.
not saying you need to do that. I'm saying that just the vibe I get from your team when
Yeah.
I watch and from throughout this season, it seems like you guys can take care of business against everyone that is like historically not a rival. When it comes to those rival games, that's where it gets shaky, and that
Yeah.
seems just because
2
like,
losses,
like
2
maybe
draws.
the youth in your team,
No win.
those games have a little more like pride on the line, pride for the badge type shit.
Yeah.
So like
Oh, they love
that's probably where you just need to. Of course they do, but that's where a lot of the pressure comes from. Also, is you love that badge so much, is that you know how much it means in those games, and
Look
that's
at Jackson
where a lot
after
of
the Spurs
the
game.
mistakes can come from. Exactly.
Yeah.
Need
So it's
something
like-
for these guys.
We can see the best out of them in those games. We can see the worst out of them, and that's what you're gonna have with that youth team.
I'm
Not
just
youth
happy
team,
it
but
looks like
youthful team.
It looks like we're getting in the Champions League again, boys.
I guess if
that'll be issues in and of
yeah,
itself.
it will be. 'Cause you're
Honestly,
not.
Yeah, Guiu's not starting against AC Milan. You know what I mean?
No, and also you're not going to have guys that are okay with sitting on the bench
Yeah, look
both
at Albert.
midweek and like I think that's
In the
been part of it
Champions
is like an Nkunku for example is a great test experiment, which I just don't. No, he won't want that. Why would he want that for his career? He's too old to be a project.
He's our
yeah.
top scorer, and he plays out of position in the Conference League. Those are his minutes. I'm sure he's fuming, but yeah, you can't do that next year. I think it's going to help to be able to have this level. You know what I mean? Like who we want to go with between Neto and Madueke in the Champions League, right? Like that is a good level of competition.
No,
Absolutely.
competition's great. Yes.
To your guys,
Too much competition is an
look
issue.
at Julian Alvarez. He got tons of minutes for City, but these players want the biggest games. He didn't get the biggest games. I want to leave.
He said
And
fuck
Alvarez
off, yeah.
played most of your minutes. He was like one of the top guys in minutes played, right?
I mean, that guy. Honestly, Alvarez just could have stayed.
No, for
I don't
sure,
think
but-
we were like, oh, you need to leave, but when someone dangles 90 million in
90
your face,
million,
you're gonna take
yeah.
it.
No, it helps. But yeah, he wanted to leave because he wasn't getting those opportunities in the biggest games. So you can give these guys all the minutes in the world and all these games
He
rotating.
was getting opportunities.
They're competitors.
It just wasn't in
Yeah.
the position he wanted to be
Yeah,
in.
just kind of harping on Dylan's point, you know what I mean? The
Yeah.
Champions League changes this a lot. You can't just
No,
stop
yeah, of course.
This works out. This is so convenient for us to get these guys minutes middle of the week and also just have a sharp, fresh 11 for every Prem game. You're not going to have that luxury next year. So back onto your point at the very beginning. What's a better time than now?
Yeah, because no, it's Chelsea are such a cool sports experiment because it's working right now, and I'm so curious because soccer is so different where you have multiple competitions where it matters, but like you've got a ridiculously expensive squad with a bunch of guys that are eager to play and want to play, and they're still working really hard, but when they're not going to be playing, and there's no shot that you guys don't spend money in the summer, what's going to happen to the guys that then feel out of place, or is it just all the youth guys get moved on and it's like the guys that are in that 22 to 25 range? Like, I don't really know.
Yeah, they're already kind of working on some outgoings from the very first window Bowley had. I think was it like a Cassidy, 18-year-old from Italy, bought him, loaned him a few times, whatever. But you're already kind of seeing them move on from some of these guys. But
I guess it's
I
like
would
not
like
the
to
youth
think that
guys because I know
offload-
the youth guys are going to go in and out, but it's like the Nkunkus, the João Felixes. Like, I can't imagine that João Felix is sitting there and thinking, oh, I came here because I thought it would be like when I was playing all the time here, and now he's not playing as much. But like also the rotation and like it's just going to be a weird
it
test
is a
case
weird,
that I'm not sure
interesting
about.
dynamic. Yeah, absolutely.
It's exciting though. I think it's super. It went from being like really weird to now it's super cool for me, and I'm on board to the idea of it because I think that's what City's going to do in the summer, and it's just going to be this weird. I think that's where football's going, unless they
Not our
totally
recipe.
completely change the
They're
rules.
not going to 12th place.
It's we're gonna buy. We're definitely gonna splash the cash, but we're not gonna buy a bunch of young guys.
I
No,
still think I think there's going to be a lot of both ways
Isn't
for you
that-
guys. It's just going to be different, but I guess
We're
that's
gonna
They
buy
have so
the
much
guys
money
that
to
we're gonna
spend. They
buy
have
are
so
gonna be
much
between
money.
like 25 and 28. I feel like they're gonna
Yeah,
be
For
all
that's
the
fair.
from what is
Bertzes or the
established.
Musialas,
Anthony
you'll go after
Robinson
one of
is
those
gonna
guys.
be one of those guys. I think we're gonna look at. I've seen links.
I think every single one of our clubs is linked to him, and it's because
I know,
he's fucking
but-
awesome. I can't believe how fucking awesome he is.
He was
He's amazing.
fantastic. I hope
Yeah, he
Liverpool.
was.
That was a great.
I
That was a
told you,
great-
God. I told you, Grant. God won't let that happen to me. He won't.
Now, last thing I
He just won't.
want to say on the topic of Chelsea before we get on to your guys' game, he's getting these guys to run like I've never seen these guys run before. I've never seen Enzo Fernandez cover that much ground. Jadon Sancho, I've never seen him track back like that. I saw
They're
him put his
bought
head
in,
down.
bro.
Right. I just want to give the credit to the manager there. João
Yeah, of
Felix, even
Bought in
Palmer.
and fresh.
Dude, yeah, Sancho, I've never seen that man put his head down and ran.
No,
You know
there
what
was
I
a
mean?
couple plays where he like came back for last minute
bought in.
tackles. Yeah.
They bought it. All of these guys are bought in. To Dylan's point, how long before certain guys go, okay, I need to play more. But the honeymoon period's beautiful right now. I will enjoy each day after witnessing those heinous acts that Maurizio Pochettino put upon me last year. I'm just glad we're done. Let's move on.
We're not talking about it anymore. That's the new rule.
Yeah,
that was your last time talking about. I was just like all your points. It's so funny because I just see it from one view. So it's like you're saying a point, and I'm like, this is why you guys should win it now. Win it now. Win it now. So I think Chelsea are in a great spot, and it's
they are in a
exciting
very
times for you guys, and absolutely you should be, fucking tooting your horn. Fuck, I can't even speak. Have your chest out super big, but like, fuck, why not? Why not?
Yeah, we're above Arsenal. Have that.
Fuck yeah.
That's the funniest to me.
That is so funny. I told Facundo last year we'd win a trophy before them. That's when we were in like 12th again.
If
Like
you guys win
halfway
the
through.
Premier League over
When
them,
we were
I
dog
literally
shit,
would shit my pants.
when we were dog
so
shit,
funny.
when we were dog shit last year, like because obviously we skipped up right at the end of the season. When we were bad, I told Facundo like we are winning the league before you. I don't know if I said league or trophy, but I said we're winning something.
They stink.
I need that. All right. On to
Okay.
you guys, boys.
I genuine question. How do we want to approach this? Because this derby was just a weird one in general, right? We had all the stuff that happened beforehand, all the stuff that happened during the game, and then there was a bunch of shit that happened after. So do we want to do it chronologically, or do we want to start with just the game and then...
Should I run point? Because you guys obviously have your...
Yeah.
You run point, and you take it whichever way you want.
I'll try. All right, boys. This is a good trial run. Welcome to Clash of Clubs and that. All right. So from my point of view, that game was just a mid-off. Obviously, like, that's not much of an analytical response. But I don't think either team really did too much to win. City scored their goal off of a cross that was deflected. Man United also can't defend set pieces. So, again, not like the most shocking thing to ever really see. And then City definitely were better in terms of controlling the game compared to their previous performances, I felt. Like, I started to, okay, maybe they're doing something here. I thought Nunes actually looked pretty good up until it didn't in that left back position, whatever you want to call it. But I don't really think either team deserved the 3 points. And then United took them in very simple terms. Obviously, it's a complete lifeline to get back into the game with that penalty coming from the back pass. Like, Nunes just gave them life in the game. I don't want to move past Bruno's missed chance. Like, there wasn't even that much in the game. All of a sudden, if a guy who usually puts that chance away, it's tied again. Like, I was thinking about that for like 2 minutes after that miss. I was like, holy shit, this could have been tied. They get the penalty, and then moment of brilliance from a brilliant player. They held on to win. I genuinely thought City would get one back and tie it. But I think based off of the first 87 minutes, the deserving team won the game because it was up for either team to take it, whether it was City seeing it out, getting a second before that moment, or to United for the onus on them getting that equalizer and realizing they could go win it. I guess over to you guys on kind of general performance, and then it'll transition itself. Yeah, go for it, Dylan.
We'll talk the game and then all the other random...
Yeah, it'll pop up in conversation. I love
Do you want to go first, Mila, or you want me to go first? I
can go first.
You go first.
We've talked about other teams, and this is one of the big things that I feel like City try not to do, but we've been doing it a lot this season. It's just possession for possession's sake. We're passing the ball forward, or not forward, side to side and backwards. So on the stat sheet, cool, we're keeping fucking possession. If I was in the stadium, I'd be pissed. Like, seeing that, it's ridiculous. Because we have all these attacking players. The only people that really look like they want to make, or not make a pass, but take a risk. The only people that'll take a risk and put that on their shoulders, look to me, are KDB and Doku right now. And it's an issue because Doku's not really getting that output from those chances, those risks. So he's getting a lot of that slack. And KDB can't be our only creator because then he just gets shut down. It's the same thing that I talked about with Foden earlier. He's obviously not in good form, but it doesn't help when he can't do anything after trying to produce something. He's clearly trying to make something happen, but once you dribble one or two guys and then two more guys step in front of the shot and there's no one making a run for you to get rid of the ball, you have to shoot into the two guys. Nothing's
Definitely felt
gonna
like
happen.
I saw more from him just in terms of. There was one
he
point
was
in the
better.
game
Bro,
he hit a
this
little,
game
he hit a
means
little
more to
P
him.
roller at a goalie, but I think he like dribbled a few guys to get that shot off. I remember seeing that.
He's not up to it right now. The form's not there, but he's clearly trying to get back to it. And like we've talked about it multiple times, I think it'll come.
Tough to walk into a burning house and say, get back into form.
Exactly. That, I think it's a lot easier for us to say, oh, Foden's not in good form, please just fix it, when we have a good team surrounding him. When everything's shit right now, it's really hard for me to ask him to do that. Exactly. Haaland, to me, looked uninvolved.
He looked a little disinterested.
Disinterested, yeah,
probably.
but I feel like it's understandable. If you've played up top, you know that after a while you're not getting any looks through balls, any on crosses on target to you.
Yeah,
and you're just gonna get annoyed. You're kind of out of the game.
It's not like we don't know what he is. We know.
No,
exactly
of course, but he's not getting
is.
anything going. Like,
Right.
It's what I was saying. Like we
if
have
you
no
give him
creative
half of a
players taking
chance,
risks to get him the ball.
He'll find a goal. Like, that's the player he is.
Look, when you're shut out for 80 minutes of the game, the ball finally fell to him, and Martinez was quicker than him to get the shot off. And it's just because you're not clicked in. I thought that was I think that was the case for both strikers, but I 100% agree. It was just one of the things that I've noticed, especially with City's poor form, is like he's one of the recipients of like, fuck, man, like, can you just please help me this much? Like, just give me that much.
We asked too much out of him, and then he's fucking our age. Like,
Yeah.
This is a lot of fucking shit to have on your shoulders.
Still the
So it's
golden
like,
boot, right? Still most goals in the league. Somehow.
of course.
No, he's really good, man.
Fucking
But like,
but that's again, we know he's not a secret. We know exactly what he does. Right?
Yes,
no,
he needs. If anything, he needs 2 to 3 games out of the team, and we have fucking nothing to put there right now, just to let him get his bearings back and let him find his fucking shooting boots. Like, we can't afford for him to have this form, and that's the issue. I don't have a problem with any player going into a run of bad form, but when we've done such a shite job of fucking getting anything to replace him, like, who are we going to put there right now? Because Foden's not in good form right now. He would be the answer, but you're going to put him out of fucking his normal positions into a false 9 position? Like, what are we doing?
Haaland, we know exactly what Haaland is. He's not going to create his own chance, but if you give him even half, he'll find chances. It's very simple. He's probably the best goal scorer in the world.
He won't create his own chance in these tight spaces when we have like everyone around us because we're just passing the ball side to side. But when you give him space to run into, he can create a chance if he has to beat one guy.
Oh, for sure. I just think I mean more like, you can't blame the player. You if anything, you blame the team construction. Because if you bring in a player that, you know exactly what it is. And Pep, the first year he came in, built the system around getting him chances. They won everything. So like they knew what they brought in. Like this guy is, for sure, agreed.
Especially now when you can't even,
but I guess my point coming from all that, the blame doesn't get on him because if you give him the opportunities, he will produce. It's just about
the blame should not be on like any one player. I think it's definitely more so on the board.
It's lazy. It's easy. It's easy. Yeah. It's too easy. People post the Grealish hasn't scored in a year. And yeah, that's true, but it's a nuanced conversation for me because I think without him, they don't win a treble. So like,
There's no
how do you want
competition
to
in
go
our
about these
winger position.
conversations? You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like, it's
it's like
lazy.
no,
You
I don't
can't
think it's
blame
lazy.
one player.
It's definitely there to be like looked at and analyzed. But when you look at Doku and his lack of output, Grealish and his lack of output, Savio and his lack of output, Bernardo on the wing and his lack of output, where's the competition for these guys to get better? No one's going to take their spot if they're not competing for anything. They don't have to get better because they're not going to lose their spot because the way they're playing right now is okay.
Just
So
trying to
we've
figure out
talked
the
about it plenty
solution.
of times. I think we failed in the recruitment of our wingers. Savio and Doku are really exciting, very young guys though. We don't have an experienced winger that is going to produce like that, and that's just one of the main issues I think.
Yeah. There to
But
the
from
I don't know, to the Liverpool point, I will say like it's so reliant on Holland. Savio and Doku are both like they're not goal wingers. They're assist wingers and they create a ton of chances, but they're not, hey, give me the ball, I'm going to go finish this off myself. It's not like the Sterling and Sané version of City. It's just so different.
Mhm.
There is an over reliance to Holland and to Foden and to De Bruyne, and
I just don't even. I
yeah.
don't even think there's shame in chalking up the season. Obviously, I don't rule them out. They're
You're not going
not
to
far
chalk up
off it.
shit.
They're not
You
far
just
off
start
of
the
it.
rebuild now.
Yeah, exactly.
You can
That's a
chalk up
better
the
way to
Premier
phrase.
League maybe, but
That's a better.
there's no
Yes.
reason to when
It's a
these
better way
teams
to
are still
phrase it.
dropping points and
It's
it's
a better
still
way to
so
phrase
early.
it. But yeah, even if let's say they go out, they don't win the league. They're not in the title race. They won 6 out of the last 7. They ran out of it. I think he's extracted all the juice out of these
We
players.
can use that
Their
we can
wins.
use that excuse for so long and then it just gets to like you're just living in the past at a certain point. We
I just
have to
don't think
look at
there's any
the
shame
way
in
we're
this
set up right
season.
now.
I don't think
Of
there's any
course, you
shame
can
in it.
write it off, yes, but if as long as they make the moves to
In hindsight,
improve
it's
upon it, yes.
understandable how this happened. You've
Yes,
harped
it
on
was
it for
avoidable.
ages.
Totally
Yes,
avoidable.
you've harped because you've
Super
harped on it
avoidable.
before.
I'm getting close to a point where I think the drop off is too far for me.
For what? Nah. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yes.
No. Yeah. No, it's just there is not winning the Premier League after where they're at, which is understandable, and then there's just playing like garbage. And that's where City's at, is they're playing like garbage. These aren't like, oh, we're getting unlucky with results. It's like we're playing bad football and we're not winning games. And there's like just not, I don't know, this to the idea that you mentioned kind of that it was this smash and grab for United. I didn't see that. I didn't see that.
No.
I want Mila to finish his thoughts, but before I get into United, but I thought
They
City
A
took
would
the
little
have
more
been
on the
result.
poor.
game.
No,
I
I thought
don't
both were
think we were poor. Like it's just
to your
in
standard.
comparison. Like yeah, to our normal standard, of course, we're fucking terrible. But to what I've been seeing the past run of form,
It was better than that. Yeah,
it was better. It was definitely an improvement. I don't think we lost points because of the performance of our game. I think it was a head loss, complete head loss. One bad pass is fine on that Mateus Nunes mistake, especially playing out of position. Okay, you made a bad pass. Diallo didn't take his chance to score. There was no guarantee that they were going to get a goal there, and he comes and makes sure that they're going to get a goal because our goalkeeper hasn't fucking saved a penalty in forever. So
I'm gonna look that
like
one up.
why? Like you've already made the mistake. Like make sure you get in front of him and make sure he can't do shit. He can't get the cross off. He can't get a shot off because he already fucked up the chance, in my opinion. Like
Yeah.
Ederson did everything he needed to do to stop Diallo from automatically getting a goal in that position. There was a chance that they could score, and Nunes enhanced that. So to me, I don't think we played a fantastic game and deserved to win it, but I don't think we lost because of our performance.
Either team could have won it. To my point, Dylan, because I know you said I might have said smash and grab. I just think
You didn't say smash and grab. That's just kind of what it sounded like. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh, and the announcer literally said smash and grab. In real time, I kind of felt that way. I kind of felt that way only because it was a 1-0 and City just kind of had the ball. But even the possession statistics were pretty even. I think, obviously, to kind of segue to you, Dylan, I think there's even more for United to build off of. Again, it's a bad City team, but it's a derby. It's a derby. And I think he put out probably the best lineup he could have. Genuinely do feel bad for Mason Mount at this point. So you shift in Kabi, who I don't think had his best game, but again, coming back from fitness, new system, absolutely give him time to settle into that role. But yeah, I thought United have a lot to be happy about or positivity to build off. So I'll give you that, Dylan. What did you think?
No, I everything else that you said about the game was, I think, spot on. I just thought the idea of, and a bunch of people said it, the smash and grab thing is just wrong. I just thought that was just
No,
a unfair analysis of the game. It was boring. This was a boring derby. And to your 0-0 point, like for a little bit there, it was like kind of, oh wow, like this might actually
You
happen.
saw what I meant. You saw what I'm going.
United are awful at set pieces, which actually makes me feel a little better because I think that's something that you can train, you can get
Yes.
better at. It's not something that's fundamentally like, oh god, fuck, this is the end of the world. I think that to the same point that
not
we
with
used
your
with
guys'
Arsenal,
personnel. Yeah,
Yeah, you got big Dons in there as well.
you got exactly.
like
As long as they're
it's something that
capable.
can be fixed. And also, it was just
Of
a
course,
fluky fucking cross. Like when it happened, I was like, for fuck's sake, like what's going on here? Like we just can't
Only
even
De Bruyne-
catch a break, like
only
a slight break. Ahmed does a good job closing out. It takes a deflection and fucking, of course, which I actually want to start with this because he just doesn't fit in the system. And I don't know what happened. He was our player of the season last year, and he's been woeful since Amarin's come in. And I thought that his profile's been amazing, but Dalot's been awful. He was awful in this game, and he's been awful in previous games. He's just not. I thought that the wing back role fit him naturally. I thought it made sense, and I know that he's playing on the left, but he's done that in the past. He played left back a lot last year too. It's just not working. And
Yeah,
he's not working. And there's no competition for United to switch in somebody else. What I will say is the game changed when I honestly thought the game changed when Anthony came in at right
You're
wing
100%
back.
right. You're 100% right.
Which I think just talks to a broader thing because Anthony's not United saving grace. But I'll get to that.
Good. I thought
I'll get to that.
No, he was impactful.
United, this is the second straight game that they've come back after giving up the first goal and winning 2-1. I thought that Amarin's done a really good job in game of making adjustments, but also setting the team up tactically to go out and win games. Like, I never thought that United were out of this game. Never really felt like City were threatening too much. I thought there was individual brilliance from City that kind of swapped in there. Like the Foden chance was a good example. I thought Doku did some individual brilliance, but for the most part was kept relatively quiet. We talked beforehand about De Ligt being on the right center back. I thought he was really good. Maguire gets his flowers. He was really good. And Martinez was the best of the back three, in my opinion, because of the way that he was able to move the ball forward. But it's interesting. It was an interesting game that was super boring because both teams are way out of form and trying to figure things out. And I think I said going into it that I think that this is a bigger game for United, and it felt that way from the players' perspective. I know that City are in a bad run of form, but I haven't seen a derby where it felt like United were holding the ball at all. The last couple ones, it's definitely been smash and grab. Whenever United picked up results, they held the ball. They kind of neutralized City. I thought that there were two things that changed the game. It was De Bruyne going out, and then the changes that Amarin made. But this, I mean, look, if Bruno takes that chance and everything else plays out the same way, it's 3-1 United, right? Like,
yeah.
There, what I'm trying to get with that point is I didn't think City threatened at all, and the Gvardiol chance was kind of fluky.
Was my point.
If anything,
I had a feeling he was going to score before the game. I just felt like he's been getting these cool, like big goals, but nothing that was really for the badge. So I kind of felt that one coming. But other than that, I don't think, like you were saying, that anyone else really threatened. There was a little half chances here and there, but to me, the story of your guys' game was just the evolution of that matchup between Nunes and Diallo as the game went on. like Grant was saying, he looked good at first. I told you guys he looked like the experiment was working for a little bit, but as the game went on, you could see that Diallo was going up against a midfielder, not even a defensive midfielder at that. So I think he
Ahmad throughout the game
he grew into the game.
Yeah,
definitely.
because they were marking him out of the game early. Ahmad was pretty quiet, I think, for not most of the game, but more than half of the game. And then he just kind of drifted more and more. Like that last chance he gets, he's right up the middle because he's like, I'm not getting marked out of this game. And I think I've been on record saying I thought he was their best forward, and I think he's starting to prove it. All he needed was a chance under a new manager to give him that time. And I think Amorim, again, going in and saying, Rashford, Garnacho, it hasn't been good enough, you're dropped. It's that simple. It doesn't have to be about, no. He goes in, he sees training for a week, and he goes, here's my team. I love that. And the fact that they won, of course it justifies it. Because if they lost, I'm sure, Dylan, you could probably co-sign, all they would be asking about is, why'd you drop him? Why'd you drop Rashford? Why'd you drop Garnacho? But I think, as we all know, United need a rebuild. And I think he's proven it for me. Obviously, I'm an outsider looking in, but I think this is a guy with the right mindset and the right character to kind of back. I think Ugarte, last thing I wanted to sneak in,
so good.
Played well.
Here's what I'll say. I still think he's the player I think he is in terms of he's not this silky smooth you don't need every midfielder to be that player, right? I think he knows exactly what his job is. Very simple passes, very good in terms of covering ground off the ball, getting stuck in, making challenges, breaking up play. But again, he doesn't do too much with the ball. He knows what he's good at, and he sticks to it. And I think in a system that's brand new to this whole team, it's very important to have a cog in the middle who understands his role and can bring some stability there. So I think he's been massive for them these past few games. And I think he's starting to kind of put his name on the team sheet early, and that didn't come off well. First name on the team sheet, he's in that conversation right now just in terms of what he's doing.
The floor is so low athletically for United that he looks like a stud. I think that he's going to be United's kind of six going forward. I rate him, and I thought that the touch and the back heel on the goal proves what he can do. But I just think that's a weird process where everyone thinks every midfielder needs to be Kevin De Bruyne or Rodri. It's not the case, and nobody is those players. So why do we have to look? I know he went for a high price tag, but he's been going through 2 high price tags. He's a young player. Caicedo went for twice him, right?
Well,
Look. He's amazing. I'm not trying to. That's not a shot at Caicedo.
He had an adjustment period for sure.
I just think that he's much better. I don't know why I got off my point about the game, because I've had this thought in my head the entire time, and I kept saying that I thought that the game changed with Antony. No. The game changed after City scored. And we didn't talk about it at all. But in a derby, after scoring a goal, the captain of Manchester City went head-to-head with Højlund and flopped. And I genuinely believe that's when the game changed. That's when the game changed, because even the City players didn't feel all that comfortable comforting him. And you saw Maguire sprint up from all the way from center back. You saw Onana sprint up all the way from goalkeeper to get involved with that play, because they were so disrespected by the idea of it. Because that's what it was. It was disrespectful. And from that moment on, I honestly thought United were the better team.
Shameless from the cap.
It was. And I just thought that was the mental headspace. And that's kind of the different.
That's what I was saying.
Walker's
it was a mental head loss.
Yeah.
It's bigger than Walker not playing well. If he didn't have the armband on, it'd probably be a different story.
Yeah.
He's not addressing the media.
And he's fucking not doing shit that a captain should do, and he's also not performing. The implications of that are way bigger. So he's got to go, in my opinion, for our sake, for his sake at this point. Why is he playing injured for us and taking all this abuse week in, week out? Like, at that point, swallow your pride and go somewhere else.
Not benefiting anybody in this position. It's upsetting. It's unfortunate. Like, I know we've kind of talked about it enough times with Kyle Walker. Like, he's a club legend. People talk about him being the best right back the league's ever seen.
Premier League legend, too. Yes, yeah. But, so he's 35 almost.
Right.
It's not 35.
And
like,
the guy who was his best attribute was the pace, the recovery pace, and he's 34, 35. of course there's going to be regression. But yeah, I know you sent it in the chat, Mila, but only a few players going to say to the fans, and I think to your point that you just mentioned earlier, like your team, it's an unprecedented run you guys are in right now. You would like to hear something from your captain saying, "This is how we're going to right the ship." So nothing. I'm sure you're frustrated for more than enough reasons, but yeah, that for me too is just like someone's got to step up at this point.
Your
That's
captain
the
is
issue.
supposed to be the figurehead, and he's supposed to take the blame, or is he supposed to be the calm-headed, level person that goes into those interviews?
Neither.
And then what happens is you throw in Bernardo, who's just not known for being a cool-headed individual,
He's
and he goes
fucking
out and he
off.
just makes a mess of it, and it's just
He's pissed off.
yeah, because he has every
Never.
right to be. No,
Absolutely.
that's what I'm saying. I was watching it. I was like, "There's no way Bernardo's taking this interview." And then I was like, "There's no way they're allowing him to say this, and nobody's trying to help him here because he's just fucking they're digging their own grave."
He couldn't give a fuck. Bernardo's pissed off.
Look,
He's like,
Walker.
Why am I talking?
The racism stuff with Walker is not okay, but to be like, "Oh well, now I'm scathed of all criticism" as the club captain it's just dumb. It's bad. It's not. We've been talking about Walker forever. I can excuse poor performances. I can't excuse poor leadership, and that's what that
Especially
is.
And yeah,
It's crap. Okay, do we want to touch on you mentioned it, but the Rashford and Garnacho stuff? That's why I was wondering if we were going to go in chronological.
Before that, Ederson's last Premier League last penalty save was May 23rd, 2021. Everton 5-0 saved Gylfi Sigurdsson's penalty.
Okay, exactly.
Jesus
so he saved that
Christ.
one for the culture.
And then he saved 3 more in the 17-18 season. Oh yeah, 3 in the 17-18 season, 1 in the Champions League, 2 in the league. But yeah, he saved 4 penalties for Man City. Yeah,
that's my point.
Out of 55 non-save. That's career, not just Man City.
It was just complete head loss from Nunez. If we weren't in such a bad injury crisis right now, he would never see the field again under Pep.
Yeah, you saw Pep's reaction. He was digging
Probably gonna play
fingers
against
into his head before
that
goalie went in.
shows where we are right now, because normally that wouldn't fly. He'd be gone.
Sums everything
in a derby,
pretty well.
Pep knows how big that game is.
Yeah, sums everything up pretty well for where you're at. Yeah, Garnacho, Rashford. I don't know. I think it's a totally sound decision. It's justified. I think to our points, or my point, I guess, earlier, past few episodes, like they need to rebuild. A lot of players are going to leave. Some fans won't be happy about some of those guys that leave. But I think those two are absolutely in that conversation of, are they good enough? I think more importantly, they should probably be focused on the wingback roles. To Dylan's point earlier, of Delo struggling. Mazraoui, I think he's been fantastic for United. Clearly didn't look very comfortable in that position. I don't think that's naturally what he wants to be doing on the field. So getting the guys, I just go straight to Grimaldo and what's his name? Frimpong. Yeah. Because those are proper wingbacks. They're not going to play in a back four. And I think they just fit that role perfectly. So you got to find/make wingbacks, if you will. Ben Chilwell's available, of course. I think Antony actually did look very good and unironically did change the game in that role. Defensively, can do that if he starts. That's a different question. I do think that's a player willing to put in that effort, to be honest. But
there's a reason he was in the squad, and there's a reason why now him and Ten Hag have given him the chances. It's because he's proving something that he gives a fuck.
I think he definitely. I would not argue that with him. I mean, ability is a whole other thing. But again, I'd like to see him take on this role, and go with it. I think Antony can genuinely become a pretty important piece.
No, he is not to United's level. I'm not gonna stretch it that
wing
far.
Back. No. I'm unironically doing this. I promise you, I'm not kidding. Like in wing back, obviously that's not your guy. Like he's not gonna be starting right wing back if you win the league. 100%. Can he be in the squad, do a job?
Oh, this season?
With some important.
As a rotational piece?
No.
A squad player?
No.
I don't.
He's not United's level. You watch him take a shot and you know he's not United levels. Now, that's why I was saying, like, the system thing, it makes sense. Like, having a profile similar to Antony makes a lot of sense. And that's the way that they're going to have to go to make it work. But he's not United's level. That's been proven. Ahmed's the type of player that's United's level because he can play in both of those spots and be flawless.
No, he can never play wing back again, I fear.
I don't want to see him play there. I want to see him be up, but he was amazing in wingback too. That's versatility, and that's super important. Amarin was talking about that. In a game against City, yeah, you want him in this 10 position, but if you play you're playing in Everton, why not? It just makes sense. Ahmad is like the perfect
He's
archetypal
willing
player
to do
that,
it. He's willing
that works.
willing to put that time in. But yeah, I guess my point on the Garnacho Rashford situation, it's the beginning. He's figuring out who the best players are, who fits the system, who's willing to put in the time, all that. He's figuring out. I think I love what he says to the media. I watch everything. I love that. So I think he's the right guy. It's still not going to be a smooth sailing type of year. There's going to be tons of bumps in the road, but I do think he's the guy. Give him the time. Give him the war chest. Give him the sales. Get rid of some of the guys he wants rid. I do think he's the right guy, but I'll give the floor to you.
Yeah, no. It's the right decision to take and not bring Rashford and Garnacho. If they weren't at that level in training and they weren't there midweek, then there's no point in bringing them. And I think that that's the right decision. What I will say is, like, when it comes to Rashford particularly, because the hate's like weirdly, and I'm on United Twitter, so it's a little different. There's a weird amount of skewed hate towards Rashford, and I don't get it, because he's one of my favorite players ever. He's an academy kid. This is like if we were to fast forward Kobe Mainu in 5-6 years from now, and then everyone's just hating on him because he's not performing. And I bet you that if you were to talk to Marcus Rashford, he'd tell you he's not performing. And he's playing bad. And there's videos and images of him being upset with himself. To say that he doesn't care about United is horseshit. The dude was crying in the FA Cup final. He clearly gives a fuck. Whether or not this is a time to move off him, I'm not going to ever say it, because I don't ever want to see Rashford play in a jersey that's not Manchester United's jersey, because he's my favorite player, and you won't hear it out. After the game, Amarin said a couple of things that caught my eye. One, it was not performing in training, and two, it was being like not cognitive of your teammates and not being a part of the team. They won in a 2-1. They came back, and clearly Garnacho and Rashford were the two people that weren't involved in the celebrations. I think that matters. Team culture matters. And the thing that strikes me, and I don't know why and I'm a fan of Garnacho as a player, because I've seen him do great things. But after the game is done, United just win a derby. Rashford's the only one posting about it. And I know this is weird because it's Instagram and it doesn't really matter. Garnacho is a person that is always on the internet. He is definitely the leak. I 100% know he's the leak.
Because Goldberg said he... So that's
dude, he's so infuriating to me. The fact that Garnacho is not posting and being happy for his teammates. Look, Garnacho and Ahmad are on the same trajectory. If anything, that's what they should be. They should be growing together. And it doesn't feel like Garnacho wants to do that.
One of
He's
them is a
playing
footballer.
for the bad, just playing for himself.
He's playing for himself. And
one of them,
I think that's the big difference.
One of them's a proper player.
He just seems very egotistical and like
it's disappointing.
Self-centered, whereas
all he cares about is himself. From my perspective, that's what he's shown me. I think when I saw that bicycle kick live last year, I was like, holy shit. And then the first thing he does, he thinks he's Ronaldo, bro. And to Mila's point, like, I'm sure you saw it after the game, Dylan. All Ahmad was doing right here, just showing him the badge. Oh man, he plays for the team. He very clearly plays for the team, and that's what you need. And I think to what you said on why he didn't pick them, he's cultivating a culture and he's creating the standard. This is the standard to get into my team on the weekend, and I think that's brilliant. So I back.
I will touch on the rumors. I think it's crap that people keep saying that Rashford's going to be sold and they're putting up price tags, because I don't think anyone knows.
Yeah,
and I think he's just. I think they don't know. They don't know, and nobody's going to go buy January.
Being sold, yes.
Yeah, nobody's going to go buy him on his wages in January. That's just not going to happen. And why would? This is the thing that drives me insane. Is why wouldn't you just give it to the summer? If you're United, you have no attacking options. Mount just got hurt. Why would that even be the idea? Why not just say, hey, look, you played bad. I'm taking you out of the squad. Prove to me that you're worthy of United.
Yeah.
No, he said it hasn't worked with Rashi and the things that he's done before. I don't think that he would call him Rashy if he didn't like him, right? And he doesn't see something in him. So say,
fair,
hey, let's
Maresca
do
called
it.
Ben Chilwell silly.
He probably sees something in Chilwell, but like he's not making that squad.
Like,
There's a difference in
that's what he
talent there.
sees in Chilwell, man. He sees Nathan.
But
Oh man,
why not just give both of them? Both of them have a clean slate. He got the decision right. United came away with 3 points, and now both of them have an opportunity to come in here all week, say, you know what, I'm the person to help this team get back to the top. And I think that if there's any player on planet Earth that has shown throughout the course of this that he wants to play for United, it's Rashford.
I'll give you $20 if I see this on Thursday, Dylan.
I would love it. I'd love for him to come back into the squad and just take off. He's the
perfect chance.
Out of all of the players we're going to exclude Ahmed because we just haven't seen it. But if we're talking about most talented attacking player on United, it's Rashford because he's proven it. Ahmed hasn't scored 30 goals in a season. How many players have scored 30 goals in a season on any top team?
Mudryk in a few years.
Not if he keeps taking steroids.
No, if he keeps taking steroids.
If he keeps taking steroids.
But someone posted a picture like last week of Enzo with Mudryk's trainer. No wonder he's been running so fucking fast.
I guess my point is, if I was United and I am a Rashford fan, I'll never give up on him. And I'd rather him see him leave in the summer if he's going to leave.
We've talked about it. We talked about it early in this pod that is it time for Rashford to go? And it probably a lot of this other, not you obviously, you have your allegiance to him, but these other fans turning on him, that was the conversation that we were trying to bring up, I think, was that, like, is it time for him to go before it's like
too toxic?
Before he goes from hero to villain, basically, at your club.
Because it's undeserved.
It's ridiculous.
Exactly. He is a hero of Man United.
And he's a good dude.
Culturally or just like he's a very likable guy. Now it's getting to the point where the fans are turning on him. He doesn't deserve it, but that's where we were going with, is it time for him to go? It already started a bit last season. If it continues like this, I think you have to go in the summer, not because he's done or he's washed, but just
to me, it's just best
for his career
parties.
and
the conversation ends. He gets a fresh slate. Obviously, completely different circumstances. I need to preface what I'm about to say. But like Pulisic, when he had to leave Chelsea, like I still thought there was a player in there, but it was time. It wasn't going to work at the club, and obviously, totally different circumstances with Rashford being homegrown, having the output he's had in that shirt, unlike a Pulisic when he was at Chelsea. But more of a just, you know what, like clearly you're a good player, but I think for both parties' sake, like fresh start. Like Rashford, I'm sure would do him a lot of good, and just for United, you wouldn't have to hear, oh, what about Rashford? Is he getting the team? Like it's just a fresh start. Go re-up on some attackers that fit the system more naturally. In my head, it's the best case scenario for all parties, but again, I totally understand not wanting to part way with a guy that means so much to the club.
It's going to be a difficult transfer, whether it's in the winter or if it's in the summer. And I think taking a discount
in the winter though.
Taking a discount on a player of that caliber just seems silly. Look, what did Mount go to United for?
With 1 year left on his deal.
With 1 year left, we're talking about a guy who's contracted up until I think it's 2028.
Yeah,
he's United through and through, and the only reason that the fan base constantly shits on him is because of his skin tone, and because of his poor form. And look, when you look at this team outside of this performance, and do you look at anybody outside of Ahmed and go, oh yeah, they're good. They've been playing good, and we're going to have a conversation about that at some junction in terms of like what United need to do. But it's just unfair. And I've had to sit with this for multiple weeks now and be like, what the like? I just don't get it. I'm happy that the manager sees him and Garnacho in terms of this unfairness at the same level, because I've been trying to preach about that. I'm not saying that either of them have been like, oh, Garnacho's this much or this. They should be at the same level, and that's where every player should be. And the manager is figuring that out. And the fact that he's pushing that forward, giving them another chance and being like, hey, look, you fucked up. you're playing like shit and you're being a bad teammate. Let's fucking turn this around because this is a culture thing. We got to be better. That's what matters to me.
Montclair
Yeah.
Mourinho.
Dude, he might be even with
top 5 in the league.
I don't want to get over, like I said, I don't want to get over the moon about a manager because I'm going to back whatever manager regardless.
I'm over the moon. That's the guy.
But he seems like somebody who's ready to take on the challenge, whether it works or not. I don't know. But
whatever
he seems ready to take it on.
He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's doing, and he has conviction. And one thing I'll say, because I've been comparing you guys to our Potter year, Potter did not have any of that. I think he's a great tactician and mind of the game. Had none of that. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of that, especially at a club of that stature, is very important. So I think whatever he does, he has tons of conviction in it, and I think that's really the most important.
Yeah, agree. All right, well, let's wrap up episode 19 because I got to take out that portion that I just said. So, Mila, you good?
Clip it and send it to the chat.
Yeah.
Grant, I will clip it and I will send it to you. But from the three of us, thank you for listening to episode 19, and we will see you guys in the next one.
Words for him. Different gravy. Glorious goal! Wreathed in red. We're really seeing the most extraordinary finish here. On this day of days, has he delivered? Just magnificent! Potentially life-changing! That's football. Minute you let it under your skin, then you begin to make it better.